This is the Guernsey Deep Dive podcast. Dive into discussion on local news and events.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. You've shared a collection of articles with us, and today we're going to delve into a really heartbreaking and frankly baffling case. The murder of Sarah Groves.
That's right. It's a case that goes back over a decade now.
Yeah, exactly. And our goal here is to sort of walk through these sources together, understand the key events around her death, the incredibly tough journey her parents have faced trying to get justice, and, well, all the twists and obstacles over the last 12 years.
And the sources really do emphasize the mysterious circumstances, don't they? It's clear from the start that finding answers has been an incredibly long and, frankly, painful process, especially for Sarah's family.
Absolutely. So maybe let's start with Sarah herself. Just 24 years old, from Guernsey, backpacking through Asia. Sounds like quite an adventure.
It really does. Her parents, Vic and Kate, described her as exceptional, someone who shone too brightly. You get a real sense of her passions, art, fitness, adventure.
A vibrant young woman, clearly, which makes the details of her death just horrific. April 6, 2013, right? On a houseboat in Kashmir.
Yes, on Dahl Lake in Srinagar. And the details are brutal. Stabbed more than 40 times, one source says 45. And tragically, defensive wounds were found.
Meaning she fought back. Well, that's awful to even think about.
It really is.
And pretty quickly, wasn't there a prime suspect? Richard DeWitt, a Dutch tourist.
Yes, staying in the room right next to hers on the same houseboat. He's described as very tall, nearly 7 feet.
And he was arrested soon after trying to flee, wasn't he? The articles mention him being found shoeless, wet.
Carrying only his passport and some cash. Apparently he tried to escape using a rowing boat, which then capsized.
That definitely sounds like someone fleeing a scene.
It certainly points that way. And there were initial reports, that he confessed, claiming something like the devil compelled him.
Right, I saw that. But he retracted it pretty quickly.
He did, pleaded innocent, and has stuck to that ever since. But then there's this other massive layer of complexity. His mental health.
Ah, yes. The sources mention a likely diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia.
Exactly. A serious condition that affects perception, understanding. It obviously has huge implications for a legal case. He refuses medication. His behavior is described as erratic.
And he thinks the Dutch government fabricated the case.
Yes, that's what the reports say. So right away, you see how complicated this pursuit of justice is going to be.
Pursuit really is the word. Because the legal battle, as these articles make incredibly clear, has just dragged on for an extraordinary amount of time. 12 years and still no conclusion.
It's almost hard to believe. One article from 2018, just 5 years in, was already talking about the slow pace. Over 125 hearings scheduled by then.
And later reports, you shared one mentioning over 225 scheduled hearings in the first 8 years alone.
But only a small percentage actually happened. It just highlights how fragile justice can be, especially across borders. So many potential points of failure.
Yeah, it seems like a perfect storm of problems here. What were the main reasons for these endless delays?
Well, DeWitt's mental health is a huge one. He was deemed unfit for trial back in July 2021, wasn't he? The trial was suspended indefinitely then.
Right. But it wasn't just that, was it?
No, not at all. The sources list quite a few things. He fired 5 lawyers, apparently. Witnesses were absent, some even died.
And missing evidence, too. I read something about video footage.
Vital video footage, yes. Lost in floods. And even worse, allegations that the crime scene itself might have been tampered with.
Good grief. So evidence lost, potentially compromised scene.
Plus judges stepping down. It's just delay after delay after delay.
You can only imagine the frustration for Sarah's parents, Vic and Kate. The articles convey this real sense of, feeling let down by the authorities in Kashmir.
Absolutely. Kate Groves is quoted expressing this fear she might die before seeing justice. It's heart-wrenching.
And they pleaded for the UK government to step in, right? Urging them to pressure India, maybe lodge a formal complaint about the trial's handling.
They did. They appealed to figures like Jeremy Hunt when he was foreign secretary. You just feel the immense emotional toll these delays must take.
It's constant uncertainty, constant disappointment.
And their efforts have been relentless. Kate traveling to India multiple times, the sources call it an agonizing quest for answers.
Yeah, that phrase really stuck out.
Yeah.
And Kate's thoughts about Sarah's last moments described as hellish. The unanswered questions.
We also learn they were worried even before it happened. They had a plan to bring her to Nepal. Kate's last phone call with Sarah was apparently urging her to leave Kashmir.
Oh, this is devastating, knowing that.
And Vic, her father, he actually went to the houseboat. to the room where she died.
Yes, one article mentions that. And then there's this chilling detail about DeWitt tormenting him, claiming he had a secret about the murder, but refusing to say what.
The cruelty of that is, well, it's hard to grasp, adding psychological torment on top of grief.
But despite everything, the grief, the frustration, the setbacks like the UK government changing, losing contacts, their determination seems unwavering.
It really does. They just keep pushing, keep fighting for answers for Sarah.
So a suspect identified quickly, but then years and years of legal quagmire and unimaginable pain for the family.
Pretty much sums up the first decade, unfortunately.
But there were some, perhaps, glimmers of hope more recently. Something about new evidence in 2021.
Yes, that's right. It apparently led to a new phase in the trial. Hearings started being held in camera, so privately, and 2 new senior judges imposed a strict reporting ban.
Which could suggest something significant was happening, even if we couldn't see it.
Possibly. It implies a shift, maybe a renewed focus. And then in 2023, Vic Groves hinted at potential developments, something that might bring some closure, though he didn't give details.
Interesting. Still very vague, but maybe a slight shift.
And another positive sign, perhaps, was the Indian High Commissioner discussing the case during a visit to Guernsey in late 2024. A local politician, Deputy Jonathan Latok, raised it.
So, keeping it on the agenda, at least locally and perhaps diplomatically, it shows Sarah hasn't been forgotten.
Definitely not in Guernsey. Which brings us to her legacy, something positive born from this awful tragedy.
Right, the Sarah Groves Foundation. It feels important to talk about this, to remember Sarah herself amidst all the legal wrangling.
Absolutely. Her parents set it up to honor her memory, specifically her ambition to help young people, especially those less fortunate.
And the foundation's mission is enhancing young lives, focusing on things Sarah loved.
Exactly. Children, art, fitness, adventure, all her passions. The sources give some great examples of their work.
Like supporting that school in Tanzania where Sarah had volunteered.
Yes, Mgongani School. And closer to home, refurbishing the children's library at the Gilaus Library in Guernsey, which is now named after her.
That's wonderful. And support for an art gallery, too.
Art for Guernsey, yes. They have a room named after Sarah there as well. It's a really tangible way they're keeping her spirit alive.
And generating funds through things like bike rides, the Tour de Seize. It shows real community support. It's incredibly moving how they've channeled their grief.
It really is a testament to Sarah and to their own strength.
Looking back at the wider picture, you mentioned an article from 2018 about criticism of the trial.
Yes, it reported widespread criticism, even noting the judge acknowledged the negative international press and urged things to speed up. The suggestion was that the scrutiny might be hitting a nerve.
So maybe the international attention was having some effect, however small.
Perhaps. It shows the case wasn't just happening in a vacuum. The world was watching, to some extent.
And it's also crucial to remember, as the articles point out, the Guernsey inquest into Sarah's death is still open.
Which really underscores that fundamental point. We still don't fully understand what happened that night, 12 years on.
It just keeps circling back to that search for truth, for justice, that the family is still locked in.
Ultimately, going through these sources, it's a story of profound loss, isn't it? A young life tragically cut short. And this enduring, painful, relentless fight by her parents.
Yeah, it really highlights the collision of crime, complex international law, mental health issues, and just the incredible power of a family's love and determination.
And thankfully, through the foundation, there's this powerful legacy, a way that something positive continues in Sarah's name, inspired by her life.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? About the huge hurdles families face seeking justice across borders. What role does diplomacy or media attention actually play? This incredibly long, difficult journey for the Groves family. What does it tell us about trying to find truth and closure in the world we live in today? It's certainly something that stays with you.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.